Howdy, Ags. AP here from the Tailgate, where we talk Aggie football every day. Brought to you by Freedom Custom Homes, building Aggie dreams. Folks, don't forget to send us some emails at agstailgate@gmail.com. You can always catch us on Instagram. Every week we put up some clips over there, different things. So today's topic, we'll have a little discussion about spring practice, and we'll talk about what to expect at the Maroon and White game this Saturday. Woo! But before we get started, man, what's up, Corey?
Not much, buddy. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing pretty good. So this past weekend I was up in New Braunfels, as you know, and we had a crawfish bowl on Saturday, played some golf on Sunday, real nice weekend. But I also ended up sticking around in San Antonio to go see the parents,
Mm-hmm.
And so I stayed with them. For a couple of days. Man, I got fed. I'm not gonna lie to you, brother. It's something else, like homemade meal for breakfast, homemade meal for lunch, homemade meal for dinner. Wow. I was very, very spoiled this week, to say the least.
Good.
I hear that one of your boys is playing a little baseball. You wanna chime in on that?
Yeah, Colton has his first game. It's machine pitch. It's this Saturday. It's going to be right about the same time as the Maroon and White game. So I don't know if I'll be able to make the Maroon and White game. But yeah, that's what's going on.
Is he going to call his shot?
Oh, always. And the kid, he's amazing. He's I'm sure there'll be a lot of recruits out there watching him. If Aggies aren't out there this week, I'm sure they'll be out there next. Looking at it.
I love it. Yeah. So some news and notes. Today, opening day in Major League Baseball. Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm watching it right now. I'm watching the Cubs-Brewers game.
I love it, man. I love it. Yeah, Astros play tonight. Sometime 8 something tonight. Late game out in Los Angeles. So that should be an exciting start for the Astros. I'm looking forward to it. You haven't had a chance to comment on the basketball season. You want to put in any closing comments on the basketball season there, Corey?
I'm very excited to see what happens next year. I want to see if everybody comes back like I expect them to. You just never know with this transfer portal what people are going to do.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see who we reach out and pick up. I know that we've already reached out to a guy, the guard from Illinois. I read about that the other day. He's a pretty good guard. I'd like to get him, but there's other guys like Gonzaga and them going after him. So, I mean,
LSU's entire team is out there if you want them.
Yeah, LSU. I mean, there's a bunch of good players, and I think we're missing maybe, we're going to miss Quentin Jackson, missing Q. But if we can get one or two, maybe we probably need a bigger post player. Coleman did a great job this year, but he played out of position a lot. We can get somebody to go along with him. Maybe even a stretch for somebody that can, leave Coleman inside. Somebody go out there and do what the Brady Manick did for Carolina, shoot the three, open up the inside for Coleman a little bit. Because he's undersized at 6'8".
But help you on the defensive side too, right? Like be a guy that can rebound and a presence inside. I absolutely believe that Q needs to be celebrated as much as you possibly can, man. I was so impressed with how he played this year. Incredible player, should be inducted to the Aggie Basketball Hall of Fame. I mean, I am that impressed with the dude. Incredible year, and will be very difficult to replace, not only on the floor, but also his leadership for that team, right?
Right, absolutely. But like I said, next year can't come soon enough for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Exciting time in Aggie basketball. Aggie baseball, the roller coaster continues. It's like you're at Disneyland out here, man, because Jesus Christ, one day they win a game against University of Texas, which they're not supposed to, and then they lose 2 out of 3 to Bama. Not really showing up that much on Sunday, having a bad game on Sunday, and then turn around on Tuesday again and beat Texas State, which everybody says Texas State. Well, yeah, Texas State ranked like top 10 in the top 10 this year. So
number 10 when they played them, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't get them. That pitching staff is killing them. That pitching staff is just killing them. I mean, you score 9 runs against Alabama and you lose 10-9. I mean, yeah, it's college baseball, but I mean, you got to start the bleeding somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we know where their weaknesses are, but they're hitting the mess out of the ball. Should keep them in games and give them a chance to compete. If they can get any consistency with the pitching, man, they'll have a chance to maybe make the postseason. Maybe we'll see.
Yep.
Track and field, man. We talked about it a little bit last time. Devon Achane's just burning it, man, on the track.
Yeah, didn't he break a record or something in that last one 5 days ago or something I read about? I can't remember when it was exactly, but
yeah, I think he had a little wind-dated 100-meter deal.
Yeah, wind-dated.
And Foster having a phenomenal season so far as well. So both of those guys definitely helping out, and the track team, competed pretty well against Texas, who's ranked number 1 in the country.
Right. Well,
if you want to go watch them, by the way,
field.
if you want to go watch them, by the way, they have 3 more opportunities to watch them, or actually April 8th and 9th, you can go watch them. April 30th, they're here in College Station as well, and May 7th, they're hosting another meet. So if you want to go watch the track and field team, there's some opportunities there. Sometimes it's men, sometimes it's women. You got to figure that out. But those guys are competing like crazy. Coach Henry is an absolute beast. And then I want to do a quick shout out here because women's tennis, my friend. Women's tennis, 24-1 overall. They've got the 1 loss to Cal when they were ranked number 4, and it was a close loss. They skunked number 7 Georgia and number 9 Auburn, just to give you a little bit of how well they're playing. I want to give the shout out to the women's tennis team, man. Just an impressive performance this season, and hopefully get a chance to keep on moving forward and compete, obviously, for a national championship. I want to give a couple of these names out, see some of these players. Gianna Pialet, Renee McBride, Mary Stoyana, Carson Branstein, Tatiana Makarova, JC Goldsmith, Katia Townsend. All of those girls have been doing an excellent job for the tennis team, winning matches and helping this group reach a 24-1 overall record. Pretty damn impressive.
It is impressive.
All right, so let's shift it over. Let's talk a little football, as we always do.
Good.
First of all, once again, Maroon White game this Saturday, 1:00 start time on the Maroon White game. So let's talk a little bit about spring practice and some of the things that we've been seeing here. One, there's a couple of guys that have been in and out with some dings, a little bit of injuries, that kind of thing. Trainer, for one, on the offensive line. Antonio Johnson's been in and out with a few little things. Of course, not a guy that you need to worry too much about. Chappelle's been nicked up some. So you get some of those guys that haven't been practicing every day, just little small things, but nothing major, knock on wood, of course. So no big injuries, all just little things for those guys to heal up. So also gives the opportunity for the young guys and some of the other guys to get some reps, so that, most of the guys we're talking about, you're not too worried about them missing a little time, because some of the younger guys will get in there. We also heard Jimbo talk on, I think it was on Tuesday, came out, had a little presser, and sort of, he said a lot of words, but nothing really of any meaning, as usual, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about some of the things we've seen in practice, man. And first of all, they've gone now through their second scrimmage. So they had another scrimmage this past weekend. Guys have been showing out at a number of different spots, but I want to start off with the quarterbacks, as we always do. And, nothing really new here. Everything that we've talked about before. Connor is an absolute talent. That dude just shows off his physical traits and abilities on a consistent basis. But as we've said before, also, he still has those mistakes, right? Those just freshman mistakes. He's not quite as familiar with the ball, with the playbook, those types of things. So still has questions in that regard. But no question, the physical talents are just impressive. Commentary?
Man, I've been high on Connor Wegman since day one. Everything I'm reading about him is it's pretty much spot on what you said. They just say he's mature beyond his years. He handles the huddle and the team well. True leader. And quarterback of the future, and the future could be sooner than later.
It definitely could be. I'll say this, if the quarterback room wasn't where it is, I think he'd have a really good chance to start. But I think with the guys in front of him and the experience in front of him, he's probably going to sit a year. And so let's turn our attention to those experienced guys. One, Max Johnson, and two, Haynes King, right? And so I'll say this. From what I see, look, both of these guys make plays, man. And they can both throw the football well. They both have a pretty good feel of the offense and confidence and those types of things. Obviously, Haynes King is still more comfortable with this particular playbook, but they both handle things very well. To me, the thing that I've seen that's the difference maker and the thing that separates the two, well, there's two things. One is Haynes' ability to run, use his legs. But two, and I think this is even more important, is the way Haynes threatens the deep part of the field. So to me, he stretches the defense out more. He's more aggressive in that sense. And that could come back to bite you every once in a while, right? But what are your thoughts? Of course.
Man, I'm excited about both of them. I've heard that Max Johnson's actually more athletic than what they're giving him credit for.
Sure.
Yeah, and his accuracy is what's putting him. Some people put him a little bit above King, but like you said, I think King does have the inside track right now. It's starting. Jimbo won't say anything. He's, as far as we know, it's a 3-man battle for starting quarterback. But like you and I say, I think it's a 2-man battle right now, and I think come later on in the season, if things aren't going the right way, I see Wegman starting.
Yeah, and I'll say this. Jimbo's not naming a starter anytime soon.
Okay? No.
He's going to let this competition run, even if he knows who the starter is, which he does. Even if he knows who the starter is, he's not naming that guy until like 2 weeks before the first game. So he's going to stick to that timeline, same timeline he had last year, and same timeline really and truly when he named Kellen Mond the starter, right? So that's not going to change, especially because I think he wants Max Johnson to stick around. First of all, so that I expect that to go into fall camp and well into fall camp. All right, so quarterback competition, about what we've seen before, and like you said, every quarterback seems to have some strengths and some good moments, but the good thing about it is that we're seeing some really good competition. All right, so a couple of other things. So let's, one of the things I've been impressed with is also the linebacker play. And I say the linebacker play. Let me rephrase that. The starting linebacker play. White and Cooper, I think, have been absolutely phenomenal. And they look so much better than when we saw them at the end of the season for both of those guys. I am really excited to see those guys on the field, not just Saturday, but obviously going into the season. Corey, what do you think?
Yeah, I've been high on White this whole offseason. I think he might lead the team in sacks. Cooper, we know what he did last year. I think he's just going to grow and grow. I think he's going to be able to read defenses a little bit better this year. He'll be strong against the run and the pass. But White, what I'm hearing
his
about
athleticism stands out.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
talking about White also. White, they're saying, has just been amazing so far, just in the practice. I mean, they say he's just grown up. I don't know if he's reading plays better or what he's doing, but they say he's just grown up.
Yeah, and Cooper's just, I mean, he can cover all over the field. He can get sideline to sideline. The guy's impressed. And by the way, White's a man. White's a man. That dude will stick you.
Mm-hmm.
Behind those guys, Russell and Lee are there. I haven't been all that impressed with those guys. But the freshman who's sort of under the radar, Ish Harris, coming in, really flashing. Now, he still needs to put on some weight, and so he's got to get some off-season time in him. But I'm telling you, he looks like he's going to be a good player in a couple of years.
No doubt. I mean, I think we have a lot of that on our roster right now, being good in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
So yeah, no doubt.
Look, in the last couple of seasons, we've talked about the fact that the defensive line has been the thing that, or not the defensive line, sorry, the linebackers have been the weakness that we were sort of had a ton of questions about going into every season.
Right.
I feel a lot more comfortable with this group right now than I have in years with that linebacking core. And I don't know that I'd say that they're a weakness anymore.
They're still the weakest part of our defense by far. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to change anything there. They're the weakest part. I mean, if you compare them to our secondary or all the talent we have on the defensive line, I think the linebackers are by far a step behind those, behind the secondary and defensive line. But no, they are an upgrade over the last few years.
Yeah.
I feel more confident about them covering backs out of the backfield, maybe not getting burnt on the, little screen passes here and there or dump offs. But yeah, I feel more confident with them, which is making me feel more confident about my pick about the defense being better this year.
Look, and so moving into the next section with that defense, and here, honestly, the piece that everybody is very, very excited about, which is the defensive line, right? It's where all these top recruits have all been coming in from, right? So, we've been talking about it. Okay, with all these, 8 guys in this past class, right? But with all these defensive linemen, last year's class had a ton of these high-end guys too. What's going to happen with all these guys? What's the rotation going to look like? Who's going to be able to stand out? And right now they're sitting there going to spring practice, and we're seeing them play, and they make it. Man, there's a few of them that look pretty darn good, and they still don't even have Jackson on the field. Who's not practicing right now, as well as some of the freshmen that are still coming in. So it's impressive to see. But the most impressive thing that I've seen so far out of this defensive line in practice is the depth.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's something we knew coming into this. Is the depth is we have men up there. It's not college players anymore. These are men. I mean, they're not far off from being NFL drafted in the next couple of years. These guys, it's deep. I'm not sure who else is going to play Saturday. I'm not sure who's not going to play. But, yeah, I'm excited about just hearing about who's playing.
Adelier, Shamar Turner, Diggs have been doing some good things in practice. I mean, those guys are definitely, with the guys that are currently participating, have been some of the standouts, as well as the freshman Lucas, who's doing pretty good. Even though you can tell he still needs to get into that college feel of things. So there's a number of those guys that are sitting there. Albert Regis, almost a forgotten man sometimes, has done pretty well. But the one thing that we didn't get, I said it earlier, we didn't get a whole lot from Jimbo on Tuesday. The one thing I was very excited to hear from him, and I'm hoping sort of carries through, is he talked about the fact that, look, the plan with these guys is to rotate the mess out of them, to get 4 in at a time, to play as many of these guys as we possibly can, keep them fresh, make sure that going into the fourth quarter, we're still playing at our highest level. And that, my friends, is an exciting proposition. What do you think, Corey?
No, I agree with you. I mean, that's something second half of football games will be huge for us. We're going to wear down the offensive line. We're down that offense. Our defensive line is still going to be ready to go. I mean, we're going, 3 lines deep pretty much? We're going 3-man deep every position. That's unheard of almost. I mean, usually you're 2 deep. We're going 3 deep, and 3 deep with talent, NFL players.
You can go 2 deep with the freshmen. How about that?
Yeah, it's just sick. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. So we're excited about the defensive line. I still think that it takes a step back, not in depth, but in the high-end production of the guys that walked out, just because of the experience. In time, I think we'll end up getting to that high-end production, but I do think it takes a little bit of time and some time on the field to get there. So we'll see how that plans out, and we'll see how they're they've definitely been making some waves in spring against our offense. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah. Neither.
Okay, so let's talk a little secondary. A couple of things with the secondary. One is we've been seeing a lot of Jones and Moten with the first team. And part of the reason for that is that some of the other guys have been nicked up. So Jalen Jones is out for the spring, right? And Chappelle's been nicked up a little bit. So it's given some of these other guys some opportunities to get some reps. Denver Harris has been nicked up. But having said all that, what's impressed me is exactly that. The fact that with even some guys missing, we've got a ton of bodies out there at the corner spot, man. Good, athletic bodies at the corner spot.
Yep, but what does that mean? Just because they're athletic? Defensive backs are tough. That's one of probably the toughest position on the field. I mean, you're totally reacting to the guy you're covering. I mean, and the guy you're covering is probably the fastest guy on the other team.
Yeah.
And so I just want to see them get challenged the spring game. I want to see Jimbo and them actually challenge the secondary. I don't want to see little dink and dunk passes underneath. I want to see go down the field. They can cover the deep ball. What are they going to do? I want to see them really get challenged.
And a lot of folks have been like, Moten, what's Moten doing out there with the starting unit? Blah, blah, blah. I'm telling you, that kid can play. And the folks over at Texas Ags, boy, they sort of down. Oh, you're probably not going to see those guys on the field. Moten can play. Be careful. Don't downgrade the guy. That dude was ahead of Chappelle last year when the spring game started, and then got hurt.
So are you going to see any freshmen? Do you think you'll see many freshmen play this year? Secondary?
Well, Denver Harris has got a chance, and we'll get into the safeties here in just a second. But as far as the corners are concerned, Denver Harris has got a chance. The guy is a stud athlete. He is above and beyond what you normally see out of guys. Now he's a little light, so tackling and in the run support, he might hurt you. But as far as just coverage ability, the dude can get out there and cover. So he could get some reps, but he's another guy that needs to fill out a little bit. And speaking of filling out, your boy Antonio Johnson looks good.
Antonio?
He looks good. But here's the other guy. And this was maybe it should be expected. Damani Richardson is guns out, man. Dude is like just swole. He looks ready to play, bro.
You think he's playing safety this year? They're gonna move him to linebacker.
Yeah, he's playing safety, but he did say one of the things we've seen a lot more of is he's pretty much staying in the box.
Yeah.
And with him in the box, then you got to figure out, okay, so who's taking that? And Antonio Johnson, is getting a lot of reps over the top. He's doing they're using him in a lot of different ways. Durkin apparently is allowing him to really show the variety of skills that he has at his disposal, Antonio Johnson. So
what is Johnson going to be, more of a safety or more of a nickelback again?
it appears that he's going to play a little bit of everywhere on that defense in that regard, nickel and safety, right? And so, that's to me, that's exciting because it allows him to showcase his abilities. Now, it's also exciting for him because I think he needs to be the deep safety, right? He's probably the best suited for that position out of the guys we got out there after Leon O'Neal's going to the pro, going pro after this year. So I'm excited to hear that. But those two guys I'm not so worried about, right? Damani and AJ are going to be pretty good. The question is, who are the other safeties that are going to get some contribution? Gilbert's making some nice plays, but you can see that he still has some, needs to work. He's athletic, he's fast, he's those things. But as you said, being fast and athletic is one thing. Can he play? And so, he's still growing into that role. A guy everybody's been excited about, freshman Bryce Anderson, as far as the safety is concerned.
Right.
And man, if he can get up to speed with regards to the playbook and what his assignments are, I wouldn't be surprised to see him out there this year. Because athletically, he looks the part, and he's physical. He's ready to play if he can get it, between the years.
Gotcha.
Right? And they're saying he's working his butt off and he's doing all those things, but that doesn't mean that, like I said earlier, there's no replacing experience and time on the field. So any commentary with regards to the safeties, the corners, the DBs?
No, not much. I just want to, like I said, I want to see what they do in the game. I want to see game action. Practice is one thing. I like to see live action. I want to see what they actually do on the field.
Yeah. And so we'll get an opportunity to see that. We'll see how much our offense challenges them in the secondary, especially down the field. And let's talk a little bit about some of the guys that are going to be challenging them and then have been challenging them in practice. There are two freshmen that are going to get playing time with this offense as a skill guy.
Brown? Who?
Keith Brown is a second-year guy. I'm talking
Okay.
First-year freshman, not redshirt. First.
All right, go ahead.
Look, Jake at tight end, Jake Johnson.
Oh, I thought you were talking just about receivers. I'm sorry.
Skill position. Jake at tight end is going to get reps. And Evan Stewart at wide receiver is probably going to end up starting for this team.
Is Johnson healthy? Somebody said he was nicked up.
He got nicked up a little bit, but it's nothing serious, just a little.
Is he going to play Saturday?
It's still undetermined.
Gotcha.
So we'll see. And don't get me wrong, here's the thing. We've talked about it, right? We're bringing in 3 tight ends in this freshman class. 2 of those guys aren't here yet. Donovan Green still could get make his way into a rotation at some point this year, but it probably won't be early. The Swede is probably not playing this year because he's got a lot of growing to do in spite of his athletic gifts. So think about this. You got Jake. You got, Max Wright, who's been your consistent blocking guy and those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Blake Smith. And Blake Smith had a pretty nice scrimmage the other day, but they're saying he hasn't been very physical as far as the blocking side. So he needs to be better in that aspect. And I'm promising you this. Blake Smith, as good as he has been, he has a nice scrimmage he had the other day, and the things he's done with regards to the catching the football, running around, he's just not the same level as Jake Johnson, man.
What about Eli? Is he still there?
Yeah, Eli's still there, but nothing. He hadn't really shown anything at the moment.
That's a shame.
Yeah, so I'm telling you, expect big things, and especially if Jake can. They're sort of practice. It's practice right now. It's spring practice right now.
After
not
all
a
that
lot
Texas
of.
Ag talk about Cup and how he looked and everything else, and he transfers out, there's got to be a reason he transferred out. He had to see the writing on the wall somewhere and be like, I'm not going to be on the field at all.
Jake was doing all the writing, and he was doing it on the field, I think. And
yeah, I'm just saying.
And I fully expect him to be in the rotation from day one next year. Mm-hmm. And as far as the wide receivers are concerned, like we said, Evan Stewart, man. This dude may be the best athlete on the entire team. And he came to work. He is out there competing work ethic wise with guys like Aniyah Smith, who's already is an absolute monster in that end, right? And has earned everything he's gotten. Look, Evan Stewart is trying to tell everybody, including Coach Jimbo Fisher, he says, I don't care that I'm a freshman. I'm going to get on this field. So he's made probably the biggest impression out of anybody in the entire field. And I expect him to, based off of what he's done so far, I expect him to start for this team. And from day one, actually.
It's a pretty bold statement there.
It is, considering that we haven't seen a freshman step on the field for the Aggies since Jimbo's been here, right?
Well, even that, we have a lot of talent. We have talent returning, and we have second-year guys that didn't get a lot of playing time last year. You're talking about Muhammad. You're talking Preston. You're talking, what is it, Bryce still there? You got guys that Keith Brown who they were high on before that I hear he could turn some heads.
Yeah, no, Keith Brown has looked really good as well. So it's a pretty bold statement. It's not don't take that lightly by any means, but I'm telling you right now that guy's getting on the field. The other guy that stands out that is no surprise to anybody is Aniyah Smith. And Aniyah Smith is standing out not only at wide receiver, by the way, but also at running back. He said the other day, he says, look, I'll play running back, I'll play wide receiver, I'll play in the slot, I'll play outside, I'll play quarterback. He said, hell, I'll play tight end if they want me to, and he means it. But he's having an exceptional spring to the point where when asked about him, Jimbo said, yeah, we're going to find ways to get our best player the ball. Did you hear those words?
Yeah, get the best player the ball.
That's right.
We got a lot of good players, man. We got a lot of good players. Aniyah, don't get me wrong. He's right there. But, you got Odd Chain. You got a bunch of these freshmen you're talking about. It's pretty exciting.
It is, man. And, with HN being out for the spring and LJ Johnson got nicked up the other day as well. Aniyah has gotten more reps in the backfield. But I don't take that to mean, if you're anybody out there, by the way, don't take that to mean that he won't be lining up at receiver next year. He will still be lining up all over the field. Right. But but he's going to get the ball. And I think that's the main key there. So wide receivers looking very good. Like you said, there's still a lot of depth. Guys, that we're not even talking about. Some of the guys that you mentioned, and Muhammad and those guys, Keith Brown and whatnot. So Preston, right?
This is crazy. Last year, this time you're talking. God, I think it was a couple months before we got these freshmen. You're talking about Muhammad being the next big thing next year.
Remember that? I still think Muhammad. I still think Muhammad's got to be
the breakout guy. You said Muhammad.
Yeah, no, and I still think Muhammad's going to have a good year and a breakout year. But I'm telling you, Evan Stewart is showing out. Now, to allow all these guys to show out and to allow all this talent to succeed offensively, to get the quarterbacks into a position where they are comfortable to do all those things, for A-Chain to run for 1,500 yards next year, whatever, one thing has to happen.
Don't say blocking.
Oh, Corey.
What?
Corey. Yes, of course.
No.
The O-line's got to play, baby. The O-line's
Oh.
got to play. So they've had a couple of injuries, little things. Aggie's out, had a foot thing. Trainer's been out a little bit. So, they've gotten some other guys in there. Moko getting some reps with the first unit at times and has looked pretty physical. Still needs some technique work. But the guys that have really impressed, two guys which I think are big time. Trezun, for obvious reasons, right? He's the guy replacing your left tackle.
Right.
And he has been really, really good. For a guy that hasn't played a down in the regular season, he's looked pretty darn good out there. And physical, man. So I was impressed with him. And Jimbo also said about him, he said, look, he probably could have played some last year, except he got hurt there at the end. So, and the other guy that I'm telling you, I think he should be the starting center, and that's Wyckoff. Wyckoff has had a great spring, and I don't know if he's going to end up getting that job or if they're going to leave Foster there. But I think Wyckoff's the better center, and I think Foster needs to move over to guard. That's my thoughts.
Okay.
From what I've seen.
Well, I haven't seen Wyckoff yet at center. That's my whole thing. I haven't seen him yet. I know what Foster did last year as a freshman. Thought he did a pretty good job.
I did.
As a freshman starter, I think he did well.
For a freshman starting at center, I guess you could, you got to give him a break. But
yeah,
he did not play well by any means, if you ask me.
I think he played better as the season went on. He did all right.
He did get better as the season went on.
And that's all you expect from him, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He did improve. And so we've got a new offensive line coach. I think he's made a big difference. I'll tell you that I was a little concerned because one of the we were watching, and one of the tackles was out there, and they're going through a drill. Yeah, real soft, real soft, and the line coach says, "Yeah, you wouldn't have cracked an egg." Not a good thing for an offensive lineman.
No.
The one thing we will once again be struggling with during the spring game is that the depth for the offensive line is not great. The second unit will get dominated by the defensive second unit or whichever defensive unit they're facing.
Yeah, defensive line's going to do that to a lot of teams this year.
So, try to focus in on the first unit on Saturday because, those are the guys that you really want to see how they perform. So, overall, a lot of really good things. I think that you're seeing the recruiting start to make its presence felt. The higher level of recruiting, because you're seeing just better athletes out there. They're still young. They still don't have a lot of experience, but they're better athletes out there. So that's exciting. And then let's finish up here before we go to the questions from the tailgate. Just what do you want to see on Saturday?
I want to see these freshmen play, which we're not going to be able to because I don't think a lot of them are going to be there. I want to see explosive plays by the offense downfield. I mean, I feel like we said this last year. We still haven't seen it. I want to see the offensive line block, but like you said, a lot of them aren't going to be there. This right here is just an appetizer. It's going to get us ready to get going for next year. You're talking about players. Zune, I don't know a lot about him. Wyckoff, I don't know a lot about him. I want to see more about these guys. I want to see how they stand up to this stud defensive line of ours. I want to see the growth of Cooper and White at linebacker. I want to see if they can – I want to see plays that – I want to see Jimbo challenge these guys. I want to see them challenge our secondary. I want to see we have great athletes at receiver and great athletes at defensive back. I want to see them go at each other. I don't want to see easy plays. I want to see something downfield. I want to see our running backs that what we don't know anything about get in the game and play.
Yeah.
Run the ball hard.
Yeah.
The quarterback, it's not going to show me much. It didn't show me much last year. So I'm not expecting a lot from the quarterbacks, to be honest with you.
I think we will see some things from the quarterbacks, and this is exactly where I think we can see some things from the quarterback.
What?
We're going to see kind of like what we saw last year, in the sense that Max Johnson's going to take the Calzada role, in the sense that he's going to deliver some nice balls underneath and make some nice plays. But on the other side, Haynes King is going to push the ball down the field and make some big plays. And I think we'll see that. You know why I think we'll see that? Because I think that's who those guys are.
Have they said who's getting first team reps? Is it Haynes?
Well, they've been splitting them, and I'm sure that they'll split them on Saturday as well, because whoever's getting – and here's the other thing I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that they keep the first unit offensive line all together. All right? I hope they keep the first unit offensive line all together, because at the end of the day, that group needs to mesh. They need to start working together. And I'd love to see how they, as a unit, perform against our defensive line.
Do they have enough players to do that? Do they have enough linemen to do that? Last year they only did 9 players, didn't they? They rotated 9 in and out.
They had one guy going back and forth. They do have, if they get the couple of guys back that have been practicing, just had little nicks and necks. They have enough bodies to do the two groups. But even if they don't, they have to have another situation where they got one guy coming back and forth. I still hope that they let the first group work together first, right?
And I'll tell you another thing I want to see. I want to see if our defensive coordinator tips off anything this year about what he plans on doing with that defense, or if he's just going to let them, play the spring game.
So, I have been seeing something a little bit exciting about this defense.
What's that?
And I've been and talking to some guys. OTJ Durkin apparently is going to be a little bit more aggressive.
More aggressive? How so? Like
more
blitzing?
Aggressive. Sending guys, putting pressure on an offense, letting guys play.
We're talking man coverage in the secondary, or what?
Man coverage, which me and you've been talking about. That for a while. It's like, put them in man and do some crazy stuff.
It's not rocket science.
No.
You don't need to sit there and try to outthink them. Just go out, play them.
So that's been one of the themes of this spring in transitioning from Elko to Durkin. Now, one, they still have some of Elko's stuff in there. Okay, still do, but they've also added Durkin's side of things, and everybody has told me that if they were to say one difference, more aggressive. I can't complain about that. And I haven't been real excited about Durkin, but that's one thing that does excite me. So,
well, good. I'm excited about it. The only thing I've heard about the defense is what you said about Antonio Johnson being more of a freelancer.
Yeah, and I think that just helps him, right? Showcase his. Not only can he cover in the slot and play the run like he did last year, but all of a sudden you add the skill set of getting over the top and doing those things. That makes him. That's a top 15 pick, right? That's the sort of skill set that you end up getting drafted in the top 15. So it's exciting. All right, questions from the tailgate brought to you by Ross Distributing, assistant Aggies with all their drilling needs. Aggie owned and operated. Question 1: who's your spring offensive newcomer, and who's your most improved player for the spring in the offense?
Well, I know who you're going with on the offense. I'm going to go with Johnson if he plays. I like to see the tight end light it up. I like to see his skill set. I like to see what he can do against our linebackers. If he can get open against our safeties, push the middle of the field, and see if he can do what Wademeyer did,
I think look, I love that pick, and obviously I think he's going to be a difference maker. But you know who I'm going with. I think it's Evan Stewart. I mean, the fact that I just said that I actually believe that he's going to start. You've heard me say on this show probably 1,000 times how a freshman just ain't going to play in this system at wide receiver for Jimbo Fisher. And I'm going against that right this second. Evan Stewart will. So most improved. How about most improved of the sort of new?
I don't know if it's the most improved player. Guys that continue their maturation. Muhammad and Preston, both 1A and 1B. Preston's he's a fifth-year senior, whatever he is, but those guys impressed me last spring. There were some drops last year. I think it was
last season, by the way. Both of those guys impressed last season, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, there were some drops that they had. I think in the spring game we watched a couple of those guys have some drop passes, and we were like, But I want to see those guys. I want to see them. I don't know who's going to start at receiver. I know Anias is one of them. I don't know if Chapman's going to play. I don't know who all is going to be playing, who's not. But I think Preston deserves a look. Muhammad's definitely up there. What you're saying about Stewart, I mean, it sounds good.
Yeah, because those guys also need to be getting reps, right? And you're absolutely right with Preston and Muhammad especially. I think those two guys showed last year that they can be big-time playmakers. They got the tools to be big-time playmakers. You just got to give them a chance.
The last two games of the year, those two guys showed up. Preston against LSU, and who did Muhammad play against? The game before that, he lit it up. Might have been Prairie View, but I don't remember.
It was, but he also, I don't remember who it was. He had that catch in the freaking corner of the end zone.
Right.
Where Calzada just threw it up and the guys right on him and just feet down, just unbelievable. I mean, and that's the sort of body control and skills that he's got. As far as most improved, I mean, all those guys are great choices. I'm going to put out there a guy on the offensive line. And I don't know. I'm sort of flip-flopping here a little bit, but Matthew Wyckoff, Trey Zune, either one of those two guys you could throw into that most improved for the spring as an offensive player. Neither one of those guys got reps at all last year, and I think they're going to be Zune for sure is going to be a valuable part of this offensive line. And I think Wyckoff ends up working his way into that role. So how about spring defensive newcomer and most improved?
Defensive newcomer, I'm not sure about that because I'm not really sure which one of the freshmen are playing. But most improved, I mean, we've been talking about White. I've been talking about him all year, and what I'm hearing is great. So I think it's him. Antonio Johnson, I'm not sure if he can improve too much more. The guy's already amazing. But freshman-wise, I'm not really sure who to say because, like I said, I'm not sure who's playing.
You're absolutely right because the truth is that, there's not a lot of those guys aren't getting reps. The guys that are here, a lot of them have been nicked up. So, it's hard to say who the newcomer is, but I'll say it's Denver Harris, and I'll say it's Denver Harris because ultimately, hopefully he plays on Saturday if he's healthy enough. I think that guy is a different level of athlete compared to a lot of the guys that we've seen around Aggie land. Him and Evan Stewart, these new recruits, right? That's an impressive skill set that they bring into the field. So I'm going to go with Denver Harris. Most improved. I mean, so there's so many of these guys that you could go with, right?
Right.
There really is. I already saw that Cooper was heading in that direction. So otherwise, I'd probably give it to him. But so I'm going to go with Adelier at the defensive end spot, and I thought he's really made a difference and gotten better and better throughout the spring. And so we'll see on Saturday how much he's gotten better, and see if he can be a productive defensive end. How he does coming off the ball and producing some pressure. So those are the guys that I really want to see where they end up at. Corey, gig 'em Aggies, baby.
All right, buddy.
Signing out from the tailgate. Peace out, fellas.